All right, guys, Algebra 1, welcome to the official last section of Chapter 3. All right, we are in Section 7 today, entitled Rewriting Equations. And if we could, let's have everybody with their books open to page 167. All right, as I say in every one of these videos, guys, your textbooks need to be open right there with you with either a blank sheet of paper to take notes, but preferably a composition book. That's what I would much more prefer you to take your notes in. Okay. All right, let's finish out Chapter 3. Here we go. So I understand if you are looking through Chapter 3, Section 7, you may see a lot of different styles of equations that they're going to teach you how to rewrite, but we just in this section are only going to be focusing on rewriting equations into the y equals format. Okay, so they're going to give you a lot of other different styles, but that's the one I want to focus on. That's all your homework is going to focus on, and that is pretty important. That's vital information that you guys are going to reuse in geometry as well as algebra 2, any other level of math. Okay, so that's what we're going to be focusing on is the y equals, and specifically creating equations that are in y equals mx plus b. And I want to say it like that because that's the slope-intercept format. And that's what you guys use when you're graphing. And eventually when you get into graphing inequalities, all of that is still being used. Okay, so that's the main focus here. All right. And to even simplify it, basically you're isolating the y variable. Okay, you're getting everything away from y. That includes a constant value, that includes the x, that includes any coefficient that might also be with y. Everything is gone, therefore it just says y equals, and that's it. Okay, so as the last note says here, usually that starts by moving x and maybe the coefficient that is with x to the other side. And don't forget that anytime you cross over an equal sign, then you will be changing the sign that was with that term. So if you have a 2x and you move it all the way to the other side, it would then become a negative 2x because you crossed over the equal sign. Or if you just had a minus 10, but you move it to the other side, it would now become a plus 10. All right, so that's really, really important to get. All right, let's jump into our example problems. Here we go. First example problem, solve for y. You're given 5x plus 4y equals 20. So we will start by taking this 5x and moving it to the other side. Notice it was a positive 5x. We move it across the equal sign. It's now going to become a negative 5x. All right, so we move it over. Then you see we have a coefficient right there in front of the y. So let's rewrite what we have now. We now have 4y equals 20 minus 5x, but we have to get rid of that 4. All right, we got to get rid of that 4, but to get rid of it, every single term in this expression must now be divided by 4. Okay, so this will cross out. Notice we now have isolated the y value, but we need to simplify the other two terms. 20 divided by 4, that can actually be rewritten. All right, let's get y equals. And 20 over 4 is really 5 minus, and 5 over 4 can't be reduced. All right, now the only added thing that I would prefer is let's rewrite this whole expression. All right, it doesn't change it, but we're just going to rewrite it so that it is in, let's go back up to the top. It is in this format right here. All right, y equals mx plus b format. So to do that, let's rewrite what we have. And ultimately, we're going to be looking at y equals negative 5/4 x plus 5. All right, do you see that those two expressions are the same? But when we put it in the proper format, It just rearranges it a little bit there. Okay, so this format right here, that's the format that I prefer. All right, the y equals mx plus b format. All right, let's do another one. So again, solving for y, 2x plus y equals 7. This one is cake. We don't have to do much at all here, guys. We have the 2x needs to be moved away. So let's move it over here. So now it becomes a minus 2x. Notice the y value only has a coefficient of 1. And like we've discussed in past Zoom calls, that when they have a coefficient of 1, they never write the 1. So it's just the y. So now we're looking at y equals 7 minus 2x. But again, I would much prefer the format to be y equals, now it's a negative 2x plus 7. All right, do you see those two equations, when it says 7 minus 2x, is the exact same thing as saying negative 2x plus 7. All right, but the format I prefer is that mx plus b, where the coefficient with x right there plus or minus whatever the b value is at the end. Okay, let's do another example problem. Here we go again, solve for y. They really changed the order on us now. Okay, so notice normally we're used to having the y on the left and then the constant value on the right. They're flipping this all around. It doesn't change the process. All right, so you can see we have this guy right here that we're going to move over because we're starting to, again, isolate y. So it was a negative 6x, but we moved it across the equal sign. So it's now going to become a positive 6x plus 14. I'd like you to notice that 14 didn't move. It was a positive all along. So I'm putting that plus 14 in front of it because it didn't move. It was always a positive. Equals 7y. All right, now we need to get rid of that 7. So everything in the expression must be divided by 7 so that we can cross out that 7 right there and isolate the y value. Okay, that's the main purpose for what we're doing here. All right, now let's go ahead and rewrite. What do we got? We have 6/7 x plus, now 14 over 7. That can actually be reduced to just 2 equals y. All right, now we are really, really close to having this in the proper format. It's just that the y needs to be kind of, moved to the other side there. So you could simply say this is the same thing as y equals 6/7 x plus 2. All right, it's the exact same thing. All right, so again, to make it in that proper format, yep, I just want you to have the y in front. But those two expressions, those two equations are saying the exact same thing. All right, and oh, lucky you guys, that's the last example problem that we had for our notes. So there we go. You can take another quick look. We have the third example that we just went through right there. There's our second example. There's our first example. Again, go back, rewind this, take a look at whatever you want to take a look at so that you fully understand section 7, ending out chapter 3. All right, you guys are good? We'll see you in the next one.